The zodiac sign of Leo excerpted from the book Nuova Guida all'Astrologia by Ciro Discepolo, Volume 1, Fire Sign, Fixed, Masculine, Positive, ruled by the Sun. Period July 23rd to August 22nd. Leo is the fifth sign of the zodiac and spans from 120 to 150 degrees. Its ruling body is the Sun, the primary luminary. Unlike Aries, which expresses the concept of the first fire, Leo relates to energy as the product of a combustion already in progress. That is, it is the flame in relation to the spark. In this seemingly slight difference lies the entire meaning of the sign, which cannot be confused with the first zodiacal emanation, despite sharing the same igneous element. In Aries, the key word could be dynamic energy. In Leo, enduring energy. To better illustrate this difference, for the former case, one can think of a boxer who, head down and in a rapid but brief crescendo of punches, attacks his opponent. For the latter, one might imagine a wrestler who holds his antagonist's neck in a hand grip of steel, maintaining the squeeze as long as he wishes. This example demonstrates that in the second case, we are facing a more mature energy, more subjected to rational control and less instinctive. The first can be defined as naive, and the second as speculative or goal-oriented. Even by observing the link with nature, we reach the same conclusions. The advent of Aries is accompanied by a seasonal clash in which winter must give way to spring, whereas Leo arrives already in the full power of summer energy, framing the mid-August period characterized by the immense heat of the solar rays. The individual born between the end of July and the same period of the following month perfectly expresses, in quality and quantity, this energy. Among the 12 zodiacal types, Leo is perhaps the strongest, especially in a psychic sense. The peaks of its power are enviable, not so much for their height as for their duration. The native manages their strength naturally with the ease of one who considers it obvious to possess it. This is a fundamental point of their psychology that explains many of their attitudes. Like Aries, Leo is inclined toward command, whether applied to a military or professional hierarchy, or simply a leadership role in the family or circle of acquaintances. Usually they reach leadership positions without effort and without pathos, because they are convinced there are no other possibilities for them. Their confidence, on the other hand, earns them the highest regard from others, who interpret it as a sign of leadership and adapt to the idea of their ascent. Presumption is undoubtedly Leo's greatest limitation, as they are rarely shadowed by the doubt of being in error. When they realize things do not add up, they are inclined to think that others simply have not understood them. This great flaw is particularly noticeable during a discussion. They are generally convinced that only or primarily what they assert counts, and they pay little attention to what is said to them because they are already thinking about their rebuttal. When other factors in the birth chart cooperate to build their confidence, presumption can lead to an open contempt for others, sometimes flaunted through cynical sarcasm and not wit, as the latter is scarcely present in Leo's psychic structure. This depends on the combination of the aforementioned limitation with another negative attribute, pride. Wit requires the ability to ironize even about oneself, and this almost never happens with Leo, for less evolved individuals, being both presumptuous and proud, they stiffen whenever someone jokes about them. They never forget a humiliation and would prefer the worst troubles over a public gaffe. Their solar nature inclines them to seek the best, to surround themselves with what is most appreciated, and to reject scarcity, stopgap solutions, and things that degrade the human soul, this often causes a certain snobbery. What has been said so far paints a somewhat dark picture of the character, but the sign has as many virtues as flaws. The slightly caricatured negative profile of Leo can be summarized as presumptuous, full of absolute certainties, despotic, contemptuous, overbearing, vain, egocentric, individualistic, drastic, and ambitious. Egocentrism in particular seems inherited from the planetary structure. They feel like the fire around which other worlds revolve. On the positive side, we find generosity above all. When other chart factors justify it, they use their great strength to turn outward and fight for those in need. They can achieve this because they're usually psychically healthy, not being burdened by complexes or frustrations that limit their availability. They succeed in channeling their forces for the benefit of others. The side of the human psyche represented is the ego, and the age of life to which they are analogically linked is between 20 and 40. The consciousness and fullness through which they can exercise a positive leadership role, even in the best circumstances, however, they can be criticized for a paternalistic attitude they almost never manage to shed. Also, thanks to their lack of complexes, they possess the gift of broad-mindedness. This is why they succeed more than others in striking ventures. In Leo's case, broad-mindedness also means being able to maintain a positive idea of a person, despite having known some of their deep weaknesses. Enthusiasm and the joy of living are two other sources of gratification for those close to a positive Leo, that is, one who has grown spiritually. A common characteristic to all belonging to the sign is fortitude, understood primarily as a resistance to external influences. Unlike the highly impressionable Cancer, and like Taurus and Aquarius, though on entirely different bases, Leo is a rock impermeable to the passions of others. They are generally so self-assured and self-sufficient that they can continue on their path without any deviation. While willing to help the weak, they never internalize the suffering of others and limit themselves to intervening from above. Pressure or force does not shake them in the least. Anyone attempting to intimidate them or force them into a subordinate relationship is wasting their time. Like steel, they break without bending. In love, Leo is mostly affected by character flaws and struggles to maintain their emotional life. Like their namesake, the king of the forest, they consider it obvious to be adored and tend to conceive their role in the family as a beacon for those around them. Marital harmony can develop if the partner accepts their leadership and is willing to be their shadow. In this case, when their authority is not questioned, they can be devoted and passionate, benefiting their partner with their vitality. Those by their side can also count on a brilliant life, as they are very stimulated by every form of recreation. Leo is not jealous or possessive in a petty way, but being particularly proud, they cannot bear the idea of being betrayed. If this occurs and they find out, they remove feelings of love, replacing them with a very long-term grudge. The longer, the more public the gaffe was. On one point, their emotional relationship has an advantage. They are not prone to the permanent micro-conflict that disturbs most couples. Leo, not being petty by nature, tries to overcome small jealousies or bickers to focus on essentials. Work is their strength, and where they gather most of their libidinal energy. They dedicate themselves with all their will and always obtain the results they have set. They are suited solely for jobs where they can lead a group. Even if forced to be an employee, they will give good results only if they have someone under them. They are a natural-born boss and create an atmosphere of trust for collaborators. Their work often reflects a sense of grandeur. If designing a house or an addition, they will choose the best materials and solutions. They are big spenders, and often their ego is inflated, leading them to overdo things, though always aiming for the best. Without a certain restraint, they can undertake megalomaniacal works that represent a financial disaster for those who funded them. Compatible professional sectors include theater and show business, high finance, luxury goods, and politics. Leo's health is excellent, as is the recovery capacity, barring chart contradictions. Being psychically strong, they do not know the vast range of psychosomatic or suggestive illnesses. They generally enjoy good health until about age 40. Thereafter, they must pay attention to the heart, their most critical organ. The brain and the spinal column are also body parts subject to pathology. The Leo man is among the most fulfilled of the Zodiac. He generally finds satisfaction in work. At home, he ensures nothing is lacking, often exaggerating by keeping the pantry full. He loves being called Dad and tries to surround himself with a charismatic aura. Depending on the chart, he might change women like cars, preferring the most elegant ones, or vice versa. He will prefer traditional married life. The Leo woman ideally embodies the role of First Lady. She is the ideal wife for an important man, an ambassador, a captain of industry, or an artistic authority, fascinating everyone with her natural royalty. While an Aries woman is distinctly awkward in long gowns, the Leo woman is perfectly at ease in exclusive models. She would not look ridiculous even with a crown on her head. Nothing brings her more joy than a gentleman pulling out her chair at the table while others watch. She loves expensive gifts and large bouquets of flowers. Even if her political ideas make her socially sensitive, she cannot bear to be in contact with misery and deprivation, preferring expansive atmospheres where she can give and receive energy. She needs an important partner by her side to display with pride. She's an excellent domestic organizer, but not a domestic servant. She refuses menial tasks. She is passionate and usually faithful, provided the partner does not try to subordinate her. Like the male of the sign, she is inclined to command and intends to exercise it. E.g., if she's a secretary, she will seek to be the boss's secretary. The Leo child is passionate, loyal, and generous. They orbit around the father figure, whom they tend to imitate and of whom they are proud. Among friends, they impose their will naturally. They cannot stand being humiliated, but generally dismiss criticism by considering others unfit to judge them. What parents should teach them is humility, which they will greatly lack later if proper therapy is not provided in time. The compensated Leo. They appear more like a sheep than the king of the forest. They speak softly with a thin voice and downcast eyes. They do not know how to rebel against the bullying of others and are shy and unable to impose themselves in any situation. Generally, they have a weak, sweaty handshake. They are the classic subject who lacks guts. Anyone can walk all over them. They do not dare to rebel and try to live in the shadows. They do not know what it means to pound their fist on the table. Courage is what they lack most. Particularly significant Leo subjects from the collection in the appendix. Number 3, 6, 8, 13, 15, 16, 18, 21, 22, 24, 26, 38, 40, 42, 46, 55, 56, 63, 68, 6, Jung, 73 Claudio Villa, 74 Benito Mussolini, 76 Pablo Picasso, 85 Aldo Moro, 92 Napoleón Bonaparte, 94 MK Gandhi,